I know for a fact that some of these reads you gave the girls. You gave the girls a read to say in their interviews. You coached some of these girls. Give it up for the one, the only, no last name needed, baby, Miss Lawrence.
Hello.
You had a dream and you never allowed it to waver.
How we even got a chance to meet is because I abandoned the side of me that belonged to the arts.
How has Lee Daniels changed your life?
I wouldn't have any of this had it not been for Lee Daniels, who saw my potential, who saw and recognized my gifts, and who told God, yes, I got him.
When Bravo came to do this reality show, did you think it would be the big phenomena it is today?
Sheree reached out to me one day. She said, hey, they're doing a show. They want like me, Nene, Kim. Said, okay. But the first 2 or maybe even 3 seasons, I didn't get paid a dime. And I've kind of heard around town what the people was getting paid. I'm like, well, wait a fucking minute. And you look at a black, queer, super effeminate gay man, I do think that there are a lot of questions as to what the value is. When Kenya's friend Brandon came on the show and he had that big physical altercation, did not appreciate the way that that was handled.
Did you feel that some of the cast members were not the gay allies they presented themselves to be?
When people loosely say that they're allies, it's not enough to be an ally without being an accomplice.
Were you surprised the breakout star became Nene Leaks?
First of all, the underdogs always win. Lanithia Leaks, and it is no shade, is iconic.
You referred Marlo Hampton to the show.
No shade. At that time, Marlo would run circles around all the girls.
When you look at the Real Housewives of Atlanta today, what do you think of the show now in terms of what it has become?
You know,
there was a time, though, Lawrence, where you were approached to be a housewife of Atlanta. You were approached to have a peach.
Yes.
What happened?
I
Hey, Raindrops. Now, before we get into this video, I want to talk to you about joining my community. Yes, my YouTube community of subscribers. So make sure you like and subscribe to this channel. It helps build the channel and build our community. I love it when you guys comment and post. So remember, make sure to like and subscribe to this channel. Ladies, gentlemen, and they. Because, you know, we got to be all inclusive, right? I am here with my Libra brother, my sister, my friend, my love, icon, legendary, baby, actor, okay? In the #1 movie out right now on Netflix, starring with Academy Award winners and nominees, Glenn Close, Monique, and today, my best sis. Give it up for the one, the only, no last name needed, baby, Miss Lawrence.
Hello. It's so good to see you.
I miss you.
Do you really?
I really do.
I miss you too.
No, you are, I feel like we all started together.
Yes, we did.
And what I want to say to you is I am very proud of you.
Thank you.
And the reason why I'm proud of you, and we'll get into the other stuff later, I'm proud of you because you had a dream and you never allowed it to waver. What you are doing right now in this space with Lee Daniels, it's something that I know through our personal conversations that you always wanted to do. And the fact that you are living out your wildest dreams, I just want to say to you on the record in front of the world, I know firsthand the sacrifices you've made. I know firsthand how, and we'll get into this too, how you've had some stressful, depressing moments in your life, right?
Yes.
And you are faith-based human, and God is the reason why you were able to go through it flow through it, and come out of it unscathed.
Yeah.
So I just want to say, round of applause to you.
Thank you.
Real talk. This
Thank
shit ain't
you.
easy.
Yeah, no,
this
it's
ain't
not.
easy.
And I have to say, it was a dream, or was it an idea that I didn't think would ever come to fruition or come to pass, right? And how I even ended up, how we even got a chance to meet, is because I abandoned the side of me that belonged to the arts, the side of me that belonged to the acting world, the singing world, the dance world, all around arts. I abandoned that, and I became a hairstylist. And it was through my gift of being a hairstylist, which is also artistry, that led me to us meeting. But I have to say that it was nothing. I never thought that I would be where I am. And yes, it has. I have had some extremely dark days, because the more you know, the more you weigh. The more you learn, the more you weigh. The more things weigh you down, the more the truth about society, the you know, the truth about this game, this industry, it will weigh you down. So when I say the more you know and the more you learn, the more you weigh. But I wouldn't change any of it for the world. What I would do is if I had an idea and someone gave me a heads up, I would have better prepared. I would have better prepared. But it's been a journey so far, and I'm still just scratching the surface. But it has definitely been a journey.
Well, let's let's start in the beginning, because you are a preacher's kid.
No,
I thought you were.
I grew up in church.
You grew up in
I'm
church.
not a PK, but I did.
Okay.
I grew up in church. Yes, I did.
Talk to me about being a black boy, being in church. And you also were in sports.
I played football when I was little. That was during that discovery era of my parents, right? When they were discovering on how to be the best parent, when they saw the effeminate ways in which I had, trying to turn me into that American dream child or that American little boy. So they put me in football. And because I just kind of have an innate passion to excel and be the best at anything that I do, I was really good at it. I did not want to do it. I would have much rather been on the sidelines with the cheerleaders or, or the drill team girls and stuff like that. But I did really well at playing football. I played football for the College Park Rams. Shout out to the College Park Rams. I was a linebacker.
Oh.
And the most fascinating thing was looking at all the boys. And I was really good. I was so good, and so much so that the following season, the coach reached out to my father and was like, we want him back as the quarterback. And I was like, I'm not doing that again. I don't give a damn how good I was. I'm not doing that again. Now y'all tried, and I'm still around here walking with a broken wrist. And I'm still walking around here walking with a twist and a broken hip. And I'm just comfortable with that. So the football trick didn't work. So I'm not going to go do it again.
How old were you when you did the football thing?
Oh, I don't remember. I was so little. I was young. I was really young. I don't remember. I really don't.
When did you know that you were gay?
As far as I can remember, I knew that men just did something for me. You know what I mean? Yeah. But when I learned what love looks like, that moment, it had nothing to do with a man or a woman. Love showed me everything that I needed to know to get through life. So while my attractions and my desire for men, it's still to this day, it's what I want because I am gay. But what I hope and I pray especially for my straight community, is that they learn that love has nothing to do with gender. It has absolutely nothing to do with gender. Yes, you will be same gender loving, but that doesn't mean that that type of love is different from heterosexual love. You know what I mean? And I learned that when I found my love for black women, when I learned that we were inseparable, when I became enamored by their beauty, which led me to getting into the beauty industry. It's an indescribable feeling. You know, when I learned that black women were my safe haven, starting with my mother, my sister, grandmother, you name it, and just wanting to be around them, wanting to protect them, in that they protected my emotions and what I thought of myself, which I later discovered black women were the first allies for me. That's when I knew that love really has nothing to do with gender. And I want people to learn that.
Did your mother, as a kid, protect you from people who may have thought you were different, or were you bullied or teased, or
You know
like?
what? I have to be honest. I never got bullied. I don't think that I can remember. I never got bullied. Yeah, people would. I've heard every slur you can think of.
Right.
You know, but I never got bullied. I never got like beat up, or I never got that because I was one that would fight, and I knew how to. Thank God for my big family that I have, but I didn't have that problem. I have to be honest with you. I did not have that problem. While I know it exists, and I know it was treacherous back in the day, it was terrible. Some of the girls, some of us didn't make it out because of it. So, and we still have a lot of work to do to eradicate that. But that was not my experience. I think most of my trauma came from emotional and mental trauma, you know, that actually didn't happen until later. Again, when I became an aware individual. Because growing up, I always had my talents that would be celebrated. I was always a good dancer. I was always the one that would dance at the school pep rallies. Or, you know, I was always the one in high school. I could do hair. So all the girls, they all lived for me. I had the baddest girls that was always my closest friends. So the boys always loved me because they knew I came with the girls. So I didn't have that. I didn't have a problem. And, you know, it didn't come until later, when I had this idea that I could take my rightful place and shape in society as I am, that I would later be shunned out of places because it wasn't fully accepted. And that's when I'm like, wait, what is this? You know, and then I had to go do some studying, and I had to do some unlearning and some relearning, or learn or whatever, that I discovered where our discontents were in our culture as black people. Yeah.
I want to get into that because I first met you on the set of The Real Housewives of Atlanta in 2008, right? I was living in New York City at the time. And you and I don't think we ever talked about this. So in New York City, there were these, this is like before social media.
Yeah.
There were these pictures floating around on blogs of you and Derek J in Atlanta wearing heels. And this is 2008. And it was a whole thing about like black men wearing heels, it was like this phenomenon, right? So here I am leaving New York City. I go to Atlanta to do this reality show, right? And I get to Sheree's home. And I see you.
Yeah.
In all black and the highest of the high heels. And me growing up in Detroit, Michigan, same experience as yours. I wasn't, you know, physically bullied or anything like that. Obviously lived in New York City. Everybody in New York City is different, but really never really saw gay black men in heels. And I remember looking at you like, that's the guy whose pictures are floating all around these blogs. And you were so, this is the funny thing about it. I'm like, he is the most beautiful, confident man I have ever seen. And we are around, again, this is 2008.
Yeah.
The upper echelon, black folks in Atlanta, white people too, straight people. And you appeared to fit in like a glove. When did you decide for yourself, when you talk about the space you wanted to be in this world, when did that decision come to being like, I'm gonna wear makeup and some heels and this is gonna be me?
You know what? It's weird because it wasn't like a decision. It wasn't like, okay, this is the moment. This is what I have to credit all of it to the beauty industry. I've been wearing heels or pumps or whatever, thigh-high boots, you name it, since probably what, 2003, 2004. Prior to that, I graduated from high school in 2001. I'm not ashamed of my age. I graduated from high school in 2001, and even in high school, while I didn't wear heels, I wore like cowboy boots, but I would have like the heel of them extended. I would like, oh, add some more of the padding or the sole, make the sole thicker because I wanted it higher. Because it did something so satisfying for me. It wasn't for attention. It was internal. It was what I felt, you know. And I was probably the only person in high school walking around like that. And I mean, I was wearing hair back then. By the time y'all met me, I had slightly toned it down because prior, I was walking around with booty shorts.
What?
Ass out, the cowboy/cowgirl boots. Juicy couture sweatsuits with the Timberlands. You know, yeah, very, very baby fat about it. Very baby fat about it. So by the time y'all met me, I had come out of that era, and I had grown into like the Manolo Blahniks and the Catherine Malandrinos of it all, the blouses, you know. So there was never this moment, this defining moment where I'm like, oh, I'm gonna wear makeup. It was just what I felt. It felt good. When I started in the salon as an assistant when I was 15 years old. I worked downtown at this salon, and it just felt natural to go in, you know, put a little dust of powder on my face. Didn't know what the hell I was doing. It was a disaster back then. But I felt good about it. Mm-hmm. And I was celebrated for it because I was good at what I did. I was the best shampooer. You know, I was the best assistant. Everyone left with a smile and felt good. So I was always celebrated just as I was. And so as I got older and I became my own, became a hairstylist for myself, mm-hmm. and I got into doing hair shows. And I remember in 2005, which was a defining moment. In 2005, I did the Bronner Brother Hair Battle Royale. I was a rookie at the time. I had been invited to compete because the person that was over that reached out to me. She had seen me at the Monique's Hair Show movie premiere. I think it was called Monique's Hair Show or The Hair Show or some beauty shop premiere, some kind of movie premiere centered around hair, and Monique was in it. Mm-hmm. And I had gone and I had this Gianfranco Ferré labels. Gianfranco Ferré tennis skirt on with the matching boots and the top, and I had a set of cards that had my information on it, and the card said Shishi, ostentatiously stylish and deliberately chic. And it was a picture of my work on there. And I got a phone call maybe a week or two later from, Lord bless her soul, Mamie Bell, at the time, and she said, we saw you at the hair show premiere, and we want to invite you to compete in the prestigious Hair Battle Royale. You will be the first youngest to ever do it, but the way you came to that premiere, we know you will put on a show. And I went and, honey, destroyed the hair battle. I will forever say that I won, to my last day, I'm gonna say I won. But they didn't let me win because I came out there and I had on some thigh-high Gian Marco Lorenzi boots. And they were thigh-high, and I had the high-waist pants. It was over. Then I had one of my girlfriends on the stage, and she was one of the girls, honey. And, I mean, the room went ballistic. They had never, and mind you, Bronner Brothers at the time, and they still are, I'm assuming, the very religious hair company.
Yes.
They're very faith-based, and at that time, what I was walking around representing and presenting was not acceptable. And that was one of the first times that I felt denied because of who I was. And so I will forever say that I won that battle. However, they just didn't give it to me, and that's okay. Because later, they made their wrong right. They've reached out to me several times to come and host and, to come and judge the hair battles, and they've had to pay me triple what I would have won. So delay is not denial. But that, going back, that was one of the first times that I ever felt like I was shunned because of how I chose to show up, you know. So I can't say that there is a defining moment. It's just I just walked into and honored my destiny and my journey, and that just so happened to come with makeup. It just so happened to come with the heels. It just so happened to come with the blouse or a skirt, you know. And here we are, decades later, and I still extract from that person that I was then. Not so much as now, because I like being a little more comfortable now. I'm not trying to walk around with, you know, excuse this term, but it is what it is. It's called a gaff. A gaff is like a little thing that, you know, keep you tucked and right in place, girl, so you ain't around here bulging all over the place. I don't want to walk around with all that stuff on no more. I don't feel like my feet hurt no more. I don't feel like none of that no more. So I only do it if it calls for that, a.k.a. if I'm working.
Yes.
You know? Yeah.
Okay. So the thing is, back then when I came to Atlanta in 2008, I was impressed and so like enamored with Atlanta and the social scene. You know, Atlanta now is different. You know, I think it's very different. In 2008, I felt like, baby, Atlanta was the place to be.
Oh, yes, it was.
Talk to me about, because me and Takara spoke about New York City in the very amazing decade of 2000 through 2010, and now New York ain't the same anymore. Talk me through what that era was like in Atlanta. I just remember these beautiful, rich, wealthy, successful Black people who were intermingling with white society on the same level, and you fit like a glove. You are not a sore thumb.
Yeah.
You know, we were following these housewives, right? But you had something. What was it about Atlanta at that time where it was like, this is like nothing we've ever seen?
I'm going to tell you what makes Atlanta so magical. And it has nothing to do with us, but it has everything to do with our civil rights heroes and ancestors. When you look at where Black people at large has been able to do, become doctors, become lawyers, become CEOs, become music executives, become film directors, you name it, it is because of the work of our civil rights heroes. And the civil rights era got started in Atlanta, Georgia. This is the birthplace of the civil rights movement by way of Dr. King, by way of Bayard Rustin, who was an openly Black gay man. They worked with their white counterparts to create change. They worked with each other, whether gay or straight. And I think what we are living right now is their wildest dream. And I don't think people even realize that that is what makes Atlanta so magical. The fact that you can walk around and you can take inventory of the people that are in this amazing city. Some are black and gay, extremely successful, living on the same street as the governor, building homes around the corner from the governor. You see black women living the same way their white counterparts, live, and black men doing their thing. That is what the dream was. And it got started right here. And I think that is what you see. That is what you get. We have our own type of love language here in Atlanta. We say what we want when we get ready, and we're unbothered by how someone feels about it. Because, again, when Dr. King, when Bayard, when Andy Young, when John Lewis, when those people spoke and they spoke the truth, they didn't care what nobody thought. They spoke and did and said what needed to be said and what needed to be done. And that is what makes it magical. That is what you felt in 2008 when you came here. Yeah.
When Bravo came to do this reality show, did you think it would be the big phenomena it is today?
Hell no. I didn't know. No, first of all, none of us knew. None of us knew what was happening. Sheree and I were friends. Sheree reached out to me one day. She said, I always have to talk like I can't help it.
No,
It's just,
I love when you.
something that happens. I just have
I
to.
love when you mock the girls and do their voice. Like, go ahead, do
reached
Sheree.
out to me. Now, mind you, she might not have even been around anybody, but because Sheree is Sheree, she always is going to make sure no one hears her. She probably wasn't even around anybody.
That
is
Sheree, just so y'all know, yes.
I'm imagining that the conversation, if I can visualize her, when she called me, it was this. Hey, they're doing a show, you ever seen Real Housewives of Orange County? So they're trying to do something like that here. They want like me, Nene, Kim, Lisa. So I gotta have you want me to have people around me? So I was thinking you could come on there with me, and maybe you could do my hair, something like that. I said okay.
That was good. If you know Sheree personally, you know that he nailed it. Continue.
So I'm like, okay. I didn't think nothing of it. I'm like, okay, so you want me to do your hair on the show? They're gonna record you.
Were you her regular hairstylist?
At the time, I was not. We were just good friends. Sheree and I met. I used to shop at her store that she had here called Bella Azul. And it was a really nice boutique, high-end boutique. And she had the stuff in there, honey. She had the things, Chloe. I mean, she had the stuff in there. And I would go in there, and because I had coins. I was dating somebody that had coins back then. So I would go in there, and I would drop bags. And I didn't learn until later, she thought that I was a stylist, that I was shopping for somebody, until one day I asked for a dressing room. And she said, "Are you about to try this on?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "Oh shit, okay." so that is what sparked the magic and what became later a really good, genuine friendship. And we started going out and hanging out. We would go to Sweet Lounge all the time, and Nene would come because she introduced me to Nene. This is before Housewives was even a thought. She would introduce me to Nene. I would see Kim Zolciak in Neiman's. She would go in Neiman's and shut the store completely down. She was that. Sheree was that girl. The girls were the girls. And it's no shade. The girls were the girls. And, that's how that's how Sheree and I became friends. And then when they reached out to her about the show, she asked me to come on the show with her and do her hair. I'm like, okay, yeah, cool. Because she was like, I need a new hairstylist anyway. And so that's how that happened. And, I didn't know what I was doing. I don't think any of us knew what we were doing. And unbeknownst to me, I became a fan favorite. What I didn't know was the business side. I didn't know the business. So, the first 2 or maybe even 3 seasons, I don't know, I didn't get paid a dime. I didn't know what the hell was going on. I didn't have an attorney. I didn't have a manager. I didn't know. I didn't know anything, until I later discovered. I'm like, okay, wait a minute. So this person on here, they getting paid, and then I've kind of heard around town what the people was getting paid. I'm like, well, wait a fucking minute. Nah. So anyway, that's how that happened. And yeah,
You start getting paid season 4.
I think so. And then that was pennies as well. Again, I didn't know any better.
Did you know how much you're getting paid season 4?
Oh, it was probably like enough for a pair of shoes for me, And I think the reason why I didn't trip at first is because I was an extremely successful and well sought after hairstylist. So, I mean, I was clearing 6 figures back then as a hairstylist. So I'm just like, okay, but then when it started to affect my schedule at the salon and, all that kind of stuff, I'm like, okay, now wait a minute now. Now this is making most sense for Sheree. It's making a lot of sense for the Nenes and the Sean Snows and the Kim Zos, but this ain't really making that much sense for me, honey. So then that's when, I kind of sought guidance, and I got someone to kind of help me with asking for some type of contractual agreement in exchange for payment. And so I at first just accepted what was given to me, and then I later learned that there were people also a part of the show that were on my same level, what they classify as B characters, that was getting significantly more than me, and I did not understand that. But it ended up turning out decent because of the fans and the people that appreciated me and liked me. They, that led me to a spinoff, which was Fashion Queens. Mm-hmm. And Andy Cohen reached out and offered me Fashion Queens. And so I felt like I was somewhat vindicated there. But it was still, I still developed a lot of, I guess, PTSD behind, again, because I felt like, because of who I was, and when you take account to, I guess, society and where we all fall on the human spectrum, and you look at a black, queer, super effeminate gay man, I do think that there are a lot of questions as to what the value is and why would we really take care of this person and change this person's life the way we're doing these straight people. That is what I later discovered. And so that was very painful. And I ended up getting, I somewhat got out of it, mentally. But it came back a couple times. And then, later on with the show, when I decided to part ways with the show, that definitely played a factor in it. And then a lot of the things that I was seeing that I just did not like, in particular, and I will always mention this, when Kenya's friend Brandon came on the show and he had that big physical altercation, mm-hmm. I did not appreciate the way that was handled. I did not appreciate it. And one thing that I am absolutely in love with and I am crazy about, that is my community, the black LGBTQ community, as well as the black community, the black straight community. I did not like the way that was handled. I didn't appreciate it. And I expressed that concern with the powers that be. And they asked me several times to, come back, reconsider. And I honestly, I had mentally and spiritually moved on, and I just didn't see what other purpose I could serve and what other purpose it could serve me. And so I left. Yeah. And I hated it because I love, Kenya is my sister. That's my big sister. I love Marlo. I love Sheree. It's because of Sheree that people even notice me. She brought me on the show. But I hated the direction that it stopped being fun and it stopped being funny for me. And I didn't appreciate that.
You made a comment publicly in the past when some of the world, you talk about the Brandon thing, is when Brandon Apollo got into the altercation. Brandon had on red silk pajamas, and there were these tons of names being thrown in his direction, girl, whatever. And a lot of the audience in the gay community felt like, wait, are we witnessing some sort of homophobia in this? Are some of you women making fun of him and his sexuality? And they just started questioning, like, y'all love the gay boys, but are y'all allies for the gay boys? There's a difference. A lot of people felt that way. Did you feel that some of the cast members were not the gay allies that they presented themselves to be?
Here's the thing. A lot of people don't really know what it means to be an ally. I don't think some of the cast members knew that they weren't an ally or that they were. I won't say that they are homophobic. That I won't say. What I do know is, we will perish for the lack of knowledge, right? What I do know is that if you're not taught and if you're not educated on what to say, what not to say, what's offensive and what's not offensive, you will offend. And I think that is what happened in that moment. The gripe that I have is that there wasn't a moment after that to give it space to be a teachable moment for anybody. And that was my biggest gripe. I think what I want people to understand about when people loosely say that they're allies, it's not enough to be an ally without being an accomplice. Be an agent of change. Stand in on my behalf when you're in rooms and when you're in spaces where we are still very undervalued, where your value might have increased in that space, but we are still standing here very undervalued. So if your value has appreciated, stand in the gap. And I think that is what was missing.
Got it. When you go back to the show and you're just there, Sheree called you, you're like, okay, I'll do what I got to do, whatever. And the show became a huge hit. Were you surprised by the instant success of Nene Leaks? Who said on my podcast, she always, when she first entered this space amongst these women, she felt she was the underdog based on the socioeconomic status of some of the cast. Were you surprised, and were some of the other girls to you surprised that the breakout star became Nene Leaks?
No, I wasn't surprised. First of all, the underdogs always win. Okay? And let me say this. I've said this a million times to people. When you go back to season 1, I don't know if it was episode 1 or not, what started reality TV or what changed the trajectory of reality TV and what we know it today, it started from when Sheree left Nene's name off the list.
Episode 1.
Bottom line, that is what fueled the drama. That is when that thing called, we got to have drama, we got to have the storyline, that was the defining moment. And so here is the note. When you talk about the underdogs always win, it's not a bad thing always to not have your name on the list. Because she became the first icon out of that franchise. Now, many became iconic afterwards, but Nene Leaks, and it is no shade, is iconic in the reality TV show world. She is iconic. Sheree is legendary. She is iconic. Kenya Moore is legendary, iconic. She's been an icon. Marlo Hampton, household name. Candy's already been legendary. But when you talk about the one that they didn't see coming, it's Nene Leaks. And it's no shade. Now, She by Sheree will always be the way.
Yes.
Marlo Hampton will always be a bitch that can slay. Kenya Moore is Kenya Moore. You can't get her. You're not going to get her. Forget about it. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Nene Leaks did what needed to be done. And then I'm always mother. And you know that because you know what the
Girl.
you know I was the one behind the scenes giving girls say this, girls say that, do this.
Let's have a real conversation. I know for a fact that some of these reads you gave the girls. You gave the girls a read to say in their interviews. I know for a fact you coached some of these girls. Come here. Go ahead and. I remember. I'm not gonna say the names unless you want to.
No.
Okay. See, and we're both Libras. That we're the same person. I remember being on set one day, and it was two housewives in the same room, and you looked at one and said, and she followed suit, read the, and we had a good scene. You were the one. This is public, and she and she admitted this one. You're the one who told Kenya to get a prop. You taught that the fan that Kenya had season 5 reunion. Not only did you tell her to do the fan, you taught her how to
Pop it. Yeah.
You taught her. What was like? Did you have like lessons? Did you say come over and you like? Was it really a teaching moment with the fan?
You know, I the thing about the key ingredient, what we now know in all reality TV, you can't have good reality TV without having shade, right? And from my world, when you talk about ballroom, when you talk about the black LGBTQ community, we gave the recipe. Mm-hmm. We created the recipe. We knew what popping a fan on somebody meant. You know, we knew how to read without using a lot of words. We knew how to read and shade without saying a word. You know, and to your point, when it's your girlfriend, when it's your sister, you want them to be the best. And when you talk about being competitive, because that's what it is. It's all a competition. It's a big competition on them shows. It's a big competition. You want your girl to win. Mm-hmm. You want your best to win, honey. And so you give them the tools. You give them the knowledge. And you tell them to go. Now, I don't do that anymore because it backfired. When I look at, I said, well, now, wait a minute. Hey, I'm back here. I'm telling you do this, do that. And them hoes want to give me $5. And y'all getting what? Oh, no. Bye. No, ma'am.
Did you feel like sometimes these girls should have given you something extra?
No, it's not that. No,
It's
I'm
not
not going to put that on them.
Okay.
I'm not going to put that on them. No. I wouldn't do that. No. Mm-mm.
but for people to know that you were an engine. Because one thing I always say to people, and this is just me being honest, when you look at the biggest divas in the world, whether a singer, an actress, or reality star, and this is no shade, and you stop me if I'm wrong, oftentimes there is a gay man
It is.
who is ushering them to greatness with the confidence and the tools that they need in order to become the stars that they are.
100%. It's a very reciprocated relationship, right? When you talk about the divas of the world, when you talk about the legendary girls, you know, whether the world knows them or if they're just legendary to you, you give them your all because, going back to what I said, when you talk about black women, they were some of our first allies. They were some of the first ones to say, we see you. And so it's a give and it's a take. It's a reciprocated relationship. And so I think we innately want to see each other win and want to see each other be the best versions of ourselves that we can be. When I decided to leave the show, Kenya was very supportive of it. She didn't want me to, of course, but she was very supportive and she understood. That is what it means to me to say, I see you, I feel you, and I understand. Mm-hmm. It wasn't much she could do about it. She doesn't run the network. She's not over the budget or anything like that. You understand what I'm saying? But just the fact that she understood, that meant a lot to me. And she wasn't selfish in saying, oh no, I need you to stay because I need this or I need, no. She supported me. Mm. Yeah.
You referred Marlo Hampton to the show.
Yes.
Why?
But she deserved to be on there. During that time in Atlanta, I knew what you all wanted aesthetically. I knew what you all wanted in terms of all the material stuff, what you all wanted for a housewife. And it's no shade. At that time, Marlo would run circles around all the girls. And she deserved to be on there. What I hate is that Marlo had such a very deep story in her personal life and her personal journey that I feel like that was never shown or highlighted in its best light. Because there was a lot to and a lot behind the labels. It was a lot behind the cars. It was a lot behind that I know personally that I feel like the viewers didn't get a chance to see. Now the drama between the girls, I understand all of that. You know, they all slay each other. And I never got in between any of that. I would if I tell one, oh, I'm not having this conversation about Kenya, or Kenya, I'm not having this conversation about Marlo, or I'm not having this conversation about Sheree with you, and vice versa. I wouldn't do it. That is where I drew the line. But Marlo deserved to be there, and I do feel like she added a lot to the show when she came on. She hard-headed as hell. Because she would not let me mentor her the way that I'd like to. So she wouldn't have run into all them problems on there. But nevertheless, I thought she was a great addition in the beginning.
Were you upset when she dropped the F-bomb?
I was surprised. So let me say that was a part of Marlo that was new to me. That was a part that I had never heard her say that. But what I appreciated was that although she lied about it at first, which was a key. And I honestly think the only reason why she lied about it at first was to not give Sheree what she wanted. Mm-hmm. I don't think it had anything to do with me. I don't think it had anything to do with the culture, with the black gay culture. I don't think that. But what I appreciated is that she sat still and listened to the lesson to be learned from it. And she apologized. And that's all it takes. I don't expect you to know, I don't expect everybody to be politically correct or to know what's appropriation or what's appropriated or what you should and should not. No, because this shit comes up new every month. Every year is something new that you can and cannot say. So we will forever evolve when it comes to being culturally and socially sensitive and accurate. So I appreciate when someone is willing to say, okay, now, where did I go wrong? Because this is all I knew my whole life, so I'd never been told that was wrong, so tell me. And when you do that, to me, that shows contrition, that shows that, you are genuinely wanting to learn and genuinely wanting to build a stronger bridge. Yeah.
Season 4, you were emerging as a top B character on that season. So much so that Candy wrote a song called Closet Freak that to this day I play it.
Yeah.
Closet Freak, I mean, it's an amazing song. And your vocals, I mean, I had no idea you can sing like that. It was the range for me. Like it was the song became bigger and bigger and bigger.
It grew.
Yeah. And we all loved it. But we also saw that it was never released commercially, right? And there were conversations about, you didn't feel the deal was right that Candy was presenting to you. What happened to the point where you had this amazing song, it was featured on the show, and you two never worked again?
It was business. I didn't like the deal. It was a 360 deal that Candy offered with her entertainment company, Candy Coated Entertainment. I didn't like it because when I read up and learned about 360 deals, 360 deals are usually given to artists that are created, in my opinion, that are created, meaning you aid and establish their image, their name, their sound, all of that, right? So, yes, you give the label or whatever a percentage of every single thing that you have. Now, for me, I felt like I was already becoming somewhat of a household name. People, knew me. They knew who Miss Lawrence was. The image was already established. The sound was already kind of established. And so I didn't feel like it was worth entering into a 360 deal. And so for that, it just didn't work out. And it's unfortunate because it was a great song, and people to this day still talk about Closet Freak. Candy is immensely talented. That's her world, and she knows what to do in it. So it was just, I wasn't willing to be contractually tied down in that way to Candy Coated Entertainment. As you could probably see, I've not missed out on much.
You're doing good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are. And what was interesting is even when you left Housewives, it was around the time where you, Derek J, and mother of all mothers,
Yes.
Bevy Smith, had this amazing half-hour, I like to call it a comedy show that had fashion conversation, because you three had such great chemistry. It was called Fashion Queens.
Yes.
Right? And it was a ratings hit. The ratings were good.
Through the roof.
The show was good. And everything appeared to be going in the right direction. But then it got canceled.
Out the blue.
Why did Fashion Queens get canceled when the ratings were so solid?
We've never been given a real explanation as to why. And here's a note to all of our fashion queens, fans, and supporters. You know, everybody said, oh, Andy Cohen. It was not Andy Cohen. I think it was like beyond Bravo and beyond, obviously, Andy Cohen. I think it was, you know, that was during the time when we lost Joan Rivers, the icon. And, you know, her show was Fashion Police.
Yeah.
And, you know, our shows were similar in terms of content. And I don't know this for sure, but I can't help but think that it has something to do with needing our audience. Because, you know, Fashion Police had lost Joan Rivers, and which was a huge chunk of the Fashion Police. Mm-hmm. And and this is just me speculating. I must, because it just didn't make sense to any of us. I think they might have needed our audience. Yeah. So I'm not saying that is what happened, mm-hmm. but that is just what I felt, mm-hmm. or what we felt, because it didn't add up. Fashion Queens was a #1 show coming on at 11:30 p.m. on a Sunday night, which is unheard of to do the numbers that we did. So yeah, it was the little engine that could, and it did. But you know, that's all water under a bridge. Everything is as it should be. Bevy was able to go on and do incredible stuff, work on multiple shows. She's also now an actress. You know, I became an actor thanks to Lee Daniels, who was a fan of Fashion Queens, who noticed me from Fashion Queens. And, you know, Derek J is doing his thing, making all the money in the world, you know, working behind the scenes on shows. So I think everything is as it should be, and everything served its purpose. While we miss it, while that was the very first show that I ever was a part of, where the production company, shouts out to Embassy Row, that showed me how I should be treated as talent, that really made me feel appreciated. You know, that is an experience that will forever be attached to my heart and unforgettable.
Mm. When you look at the Real Housewives of Atlanta today, what do you think of the show now in terms of what it has become?
I watched last season. I enjoyed it. I'm sorry. I enjoyed last season. I'm going to be honest. I think a lot of the girls get in a lot of the girls' way. I think if everybody can go back to the original formula and the original mindset, I think if everybody would stop trying to stifle other people's paychecks and other people's jobs, I think you would probably have the exact same cast that you had from the beginning, or from that golden era of Housewives. You know, I think everybody in their own right became stars. And I don't know who, I don't know what organization, I don't know what entity, but somewhere, somehow, the powers that be gave a lot of the girls this false sense of entitlement, that some of them could dictate who gets to be what and do what. And I think that's where it fell short. I think people became extremely celebrity driven and so celebrated by the fans that they no longer wanted to be seen as the person that could be read. That they no longer wanted to be seen as the person that could possibly get trampled on, you know. And so they have this urgency to stand up and vindicate themselves, but not on film, to the networks, to get whatever person did whatever taken out. And it's all derived from ego. Mm. And it's clear as day when I watch the show now. while I still enjoyed it last season, yeah, I I wish everyone could have a moment and get recentered and go make your fucking money. Go make your coin. It's that simple. I've heard from other people in other reality show spaces how much money they make, and I'm like, what? And I know what the girls was making on Housewives, and I'm like, and y'all arguing about because this person said, if you don't shut up and get your coin, get your coin. Them people on them other shows, they would love to be in those seats. And to just let it go like that, I'm like, oh my God, are you serious? And they're all stronger with each other. But the problem, I think, came in when they thought they were becoming weaker because one seemed to be stronger. That's all a false perception. They were all very strong and super strong together.
What happened to what you just said, season 1, episode 1? Sheree admitted on my podcast she purposefully left Nene's name off the list. She said they wanted her to be in my house. I said, I know what y'all producers want. That's my house. It ain't going to happen. I'm going to purposefully leave her name off the list. She did it on purpose. Nene Leaks had no idea, gave a great scene. That entire season 1 was Sheree versus Nene. Because they both lived in the reality of, this is my life, I'm going to do that. And it made for great television. Yep. And the rest is history.
Yep.
So I could not agree with you more. There was a time, though, Lawrence, where you were approached to be a housewife of Atlanta. You were approached to have a peach.
Yes.
What happened?
I do not know. I went through a couple of interviews, maybe. We never got around to like filming, but I remember some of the producers or scouts, whatever, came and looked at my place, my condo. They already knew I was successful. Now, what I was told when it got back to the higher ups was that they were not ready to go in that direction. That was what I was told. And I think that was one of the things that they tried, because I think they could kind of sense that I was kind of drifting away. And I can't think of who it was that saw fit for me to be like the first openly gay individual to have to be a peach holder. But they advocated hard. And when it got to the higher ups, I was told that they were told they weren't really ready to go in that direction just yet. Yeah. And that was another thing that made me be like, okay, is really nothing else here for me to do. You ain't ever giving me no peach. I ain't getting that one of them multi-million-dollar paychecks, that y'all give the girls. Not pumping y'all teas, but it is what it is. I knew Ye wasn't gonna give me that shit, so I'm like, well, honey, I'm gonna take these $5 y'all done gave me thus far, and I'm gonna go on and make it do what it do. And so, yeah.
When you left the show and then Fashion Queens got canceled, did you go through a dark period in your life?
I didn't. I didn't have time. As soon as Fashion Queens was canceled, I was already in the Lee Daniels network. So right after Fashion Queens, the third season, I got invited to come on to Empire. And I shot a couple of episodes of Empire. And right after Empire, Lee was in the process of developing and creating the show Star that became also a hit on Fox. And this time I was a series regular. He created this character, Miss Bruce, for me. And so I went right into that. So I was heartbroken because I loved Fashion Queens. I mean, it was it was a joy to go to work every week and be with Bevy and Derek and the whole Embassy Row family, Deirdre Connolly, and it was a joy. So I was very heartbroken. It felt like a breakup, like a bad breakup. Although it wasn't a bad breakup, but I felt like, girl, that nigga just left me. That's how I felt. I felt
Yeah.
like, girl, he left me. That's how I felt. But I didn't have too much time to weep because I went straight into my acting career, which is funny because that was one of my original passions when I was younger. Again, like I said from the beginning, being a part of the arts. And so my biggest note to people is nurture the gifts that you've been given, give it 110%, and allow that to make room. And if it had it not been for the beauty industry, me becoming Sheree's hairstylist, you know, excuse me becoming Sheree's hairstylist, you know, tracking through the Housewives of Atlanta days to Fashion Queens, I wouldn't have gotten noticed by one of the most important and most incredible filmmakers that we know today, which is Lee Daniels. And I wouldn't be sitting here as an actor now, talking about my latest project, The Deliverance.
How has Lee Daniels changed your life? Like, talk to me about, because, one thing that I love about you is the fact that you give credit where credit is due. And I feel like there's something that happened along the way with some celebrities. They no longer want to give the props to the person who gave them the opportunity. And
That's very dangerous.
go.
That's very dangerous to do, right? Because none of our victories happened solely because of us. Somebody had to be put in place. There was a vessel somewhere that God said, I need you to go do this on my behalf for this person. So who am I to not say, to not give it all, count it all joy and give God the glory.
Amen.
And to recognize those that he used to bring the glory. I cannot do that in good consciousness. That is I'm not built like that. Lee Daniels, he was in charge of opening a portal for me that I did not think was possible. I did not think that I would ever be able to utilize my gift as an actor, or any of it. I didn't think that I would be on the same screen as powerhouse vets in the industry, from Queen Latifah to Glenn Close to Monique to Patti LaBelle to Gladys Knight to Benjamin Bratt, Andra Day, who's a real gem. The relationships that I have created because of Lee Daniels that are life lasting. My relationships with my brother Tyler Williams, who was also on the United States versus Billie Holiday with me, Davine Joy, Randolph, you name it. I wouldn't have any of this had it not been for Lee Daniels, who saw my potential, who saw and recognized my gifts, and who told God, yes, I got him. And I will forever be grateful. I am now at a point where I am now learning the business side of this side of the industry. So it's interesting, but it is still very rewarding. It's more than what the I was making on Housewives and on Fashion Queens. I tell you that much.
I think, what's so funny is it warms my spirit when I see you at the award shows.
Yeah.
When I see you on the red carpet. Because, like I said, you and I have had personal conversations, and I know there's just been moments where you're trying to just figure things out, like we're all trying to do today, right? So to see that you're so successful in a genre that is just so that you're really good.
Thank
like
you.
you're a really good actor.
Thank you.
I mean, the Deliverance. I mean, #1 movie on Netflix. The movie is everything. Your comedy chops is everything.
Thank you.
Your acting ability is everything. And even the fact that, you know how to like roll some dice. So do you really know how to roll dice?
I have no idea. I had to like study. I had to.
You have to study how to. So wait. So
I don't play- I don't-
cross my legs. So do you like?
Yeah, I don't play dice.
Like Ginger in Casino? Like how? What did you? The way you taught Kenya how to like do the fan?
Yeah.
Who taught you how to roll dice?
So you go in. For me, when I read the script and learned that okay, Asia is playing dice or gambling with the kids, I'm like, okay, now let me go on YouTube and see how do you do that. You know what I'm saying? You know, I have played scraps. Is it scraps? Is it craps? Craps. I have played.
Okay.
I have played craps. It's craps.
It's craps.
It's craps. I have played craps before, so I know a little bit, right? But I wanted to make sure that it was real. So I went and studied it. I went and studied what does that look like. I went and studied the terminology, you know. But what's genius and what's so good about Lee gives you space to show up as yourself first, right? And then he strips you. It's important that you show up as yourself first because you need to find yourself in the character. Then you're stripped, you get stripped, and then you become this new character with yourself in it. You know, and I think that's what makes Lee so genius. And I think that's why he gets the best work out of artists and out of actors. You show up and you know, I think it helps with your working relationship as well, because when you show up as yourself to your director, they get to learn and know who you are, which opens the door for them to show you who they are, and then you develop that level of trust. And when you trust your director, that's when the magic happens. When Lee says do something, you just do it. I have to tell this story. When I was shooting Billie Holiday, there was a scene, it did not make the movie, unfortunately, but there was a scene where he told me I had to be eating something. And it was well over midnight when we were shooting, so everything was closed. He originally wanted me to be eating fried chicken, but they couldn't get fried chicken anywhere. He insisted, but they was like, okay, there's no fried chicken anywhere. So he's like, okay, he needs to be eating something. Okay, give him a banana. Eat the banana. So they bring me a banana, and I'm eating the banana. He comes over, and he whispers in my ear. He said, I need you to eat this banana with urgency. You know what I mean? I need you to eat it with urgency. And I looked at Tyler, because my brother Tyler was right there. I said, what the how the you eat a banana with urgency? Now, I am skillful. But I said, how the you eat a banana with urgency? So Tyler like, just do it, child. Because we had time to figure that shit out. He said, just eat it. So, baby, I had took that banana and I had ate that banana. And after we finished the scene, Lee said, come here, I want to show you something. And I went to the monitor. And the way that it translated was magic. I was like, you would never think from that note that you're going to get that performance. That's what makes that an icon. That's why he breeds Oscar winners and Golden Globe winners. That's why. To go inside his head, which I don't think anybody will be able to do, it's indescribable. It's indescribable.
Glenn Close.
Oh, my God. See, this is the
Glenn
thing.
J. Blige is what the social media girls are calling her now. I mean, what was that like to work with Glenn Close and her black scent and the wigs? I mean,
listen, I didn't know when I learned that I was going to be in a scene with her, because I shot several scenes, but, you know, cutting room floor, da da da. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna be in a scene with Glenn. I was like, oh my God, what to expect? This is the creme de la crucial, honey. When I say the most beautiful, humble, down to earth, person that you could think of. It's no extra bells and whistles, which fascinates me because here is this woman who is one of the most decorated women in Hollywood, who doesn't require all of that. And then you meet a reality star. They got 10 assistants. And I think it is a key. And I'm not reading them, but I think it's fascinating.
Read them read them because listen, I always tell the girls, and my girls are the reality girls. I always tell them, like, this is not going to end well for you.
Yeah.
Because to have an ego of this magnitude and this diva quality of being late, showing up when you feel like it, disrespecting the crew, talking to the producers any kind of way, shading your producers on social media because you don't like the way the episode aired, whatever the case may be, going against everybody around you, that's not going to end well for you.
No.
So when you have someone like Glenn Close, who, like you said, is one of the most decorated women in the world, who shows up, does her job, and goes home and doesn't require a lot.
And is a team player, wants the best for the scene, wants the best for everybody in the scene. During the birthday party, and we were singing Happy Birthday, what they didn't show was that we went into the black version of Happy Birthday. Oh. Happy birthday to you. And Glenn was like, hey, can you help me out? How does it go? Can you teach it to me really quick? I got to teach Glenn Close how to do the black version of Happy Birthday. And honey, she did it.
I bet she did.
And she did it. That part didn't make the cut, but she did it. And just down to her wanting to make sure that she got, some of our sound right, the diction, Glenn Close asking me. And I'm just like, wow. Mm. So it's those opportunities that I've been afforded that I wouldn't, it's priceless. Mm-hmm. It's priceless. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's next for you?
Well, what's next for Miss Lawrence? Well, there was a show on the horizon.
Like a TV show?
There's a scripted drama TV show on the horizon. I don't know if I can talk too much about it, but it's been in the work for maybe 3-4 years now. So we are extremely close to starting on a big network. I think this time I'm going to be number one on the call sheet.
Number one on the call sheet?
I'm starring in this. I will be the star.
If it's a Lee Daniels production?
It's a Lee Daniels production. I'm super, super excited about it. I can tell you this, is that I will be a detective. I will be a detective. Yeah. So my work is cut out for me. So I got to be running. I got to be jumping, chasing after suckers. I got to do all that. And I am so ready.
Don't make me cry.
Yeah. I'm super excited about that. So that is what is in the near future. That's what's next.
You deserve all this plus more.
Thank you.
You have never changed. You are the same Miss Lawrence since 2008, the day I met you. You haven't allowed this fame to come to your head. You went to Sheree's fashion show to support her because you knew what a big deal that was for Sheree. Yes. Even recently, it hasn't, obviously, this upcoming season has not aired. But obviously, Kenya Moore had a hair show at her salon, and you were, there. Mm-hmm. What can you say to the world about how Kenya is doing, because you were actually there when that whole thing went down.
You know what's funny? I wasn't there when that happened. I was there. I did the part Kenya asked me to do, which was judge a hair show and Cynthia was there. And I left right afterwards. Now, everything that happened after, I was like, what happened? I couldn't believe all this. I didn't know. I was like, well, I didn't see none of that. So I don't know what y'all talking about. But yeah, I don't know. And I talked to Kenya maybe a month after that happened. Kenya's good. Mm-hmm. Kenya is good. I learned that the rumors were not true, that she wasn't fired, that she wasn't suspended. They, to my understanding, had just paused her part of our side of the production. That's pretty much all that I know. Do I think it's fair? No, I don't. Because the show was built off of the shadiest and nastiest drama and shade and reading you could possibly think of. So I was very surprised and taken back that, she had to suffer in whatever way because of what transpired. And what exactly transpired, I have no idea. The severity of whatever the repercussions were, I have no idea. But just based on what I've read, I'm like, well, that's not fair if what they're saying is true. And what I love about Kenya, when she and I talk, we spend more time about her wanting to know if I'm okay and how things are going with me. So we talk very briefly about the show. We talk about Brooklyn, stuff like that. So but to answer your question, I think she's doing quite well. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Kenya has surpassed what her original goal was in terms of being a part of Housewives of Atlanta. I don't think she intended to stay this long. So I think she's doing well. And sometimes, when things get shaken up, it is time to go on and figure out what's next.
Yes.
And sometimes if you don't do it, the universe will make you, or God will make you.
Baby. Yes. And then you have to accept the reality of the situation.
Yeah.
Don't feel bad for yourself. And know, and this is truth. You're living proof of it. So am I, in terms of God will stop an opportunity for you because there's enough.
He will block it to bless it.
Ooh, he'll block it to bless it. He will block it to bless it. Mm-hmm. No, I receive that.
Yep.
I receive that. Are you in love? Are you dating?
Ooh. I mean, I have a very strong situationship.
What does that mean?
That's all I can say. I have a very strong situationship.
How long has this strong situationship been in effect?
A long time. That's all I can say. Yeah. I'm not going into that, honey. So
No.
with your next question.
No, I'm just saying. But you are happy.
I am. I'm comfortable.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable. Yeah.
Look at you fidgeting for the water. Okay.
I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable.
No complaints.
Mm-mm. I don't have any complaints. I'm not. I am still. I am still driven and excited about where I'm going and what I know has been promised to me, and so I don't want to be too distracted. So I think where I am in my situation is perfect.
And as a fellow Libra, I could not agree with you more. Same. I obviously very private people.
Yeah.
The relationship part, I just think that's just something that is over there. And what it does, not that you need my advice, because you don't, because you're very wise for your young age, but I would say keep it that way.
Yeah.
And it has worked out for you.
Yeah.
I have known this man since 2008. I have never seen him on a date. I have never, ever. He's, so I love it about you. Mm-hmm. You really keep that separate. And that's amazing.
You know, historically speaking, you know this from all your girls on the show. Every time a couple is introduced,
Baby.
it is not long lived on them shows. It's a wrap. Keep that shit to yourself. Now, I get, and like when you talk about reality shows, that's a part of it. They want to know who your significant other is, so that's a part of it. So I honestly don't even have any advice for people that are going into reality shows and, getting match made and all that kind of stuff, because I don't know what it would take to keep that type of unionship or relationship or courtship or whatever together in the face of the camera and everything that comes with that camera. I don't know.
No, I told somebody recently that be happy that you're not on the show anymore because I think your husband is waiting for you. And I said, in my opinion, I don't think you would ever meet a man being on the show. And what's interesting is you low-key don't want a man who's too eager to film on the show.
No, because it's not real.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I said, so take this opportunity to find possibly your happily ever after. And I do believe that for this person.
100, absolutely.
Yes. Well, thank you, Miss Lawrence. This was everything.
Been a long time coming.
I have asked you several times, but this is the perfect time to do it.
Yes.
And I like the fact that we can do it in person, one-on-one in this setting.
Yeah.
Celebrating you having the #1 movie on Netflix
Yes.
for over a week.
Yeah, it's 2 weeks now.
2 weeks. I think, yeah, it's for 2 weeks. So congratulations. I love you.
Thank you. I love you too.
Yes. Give it up for Miss Lawrence.
Thank y'all.